I had always thought that Isabella and I had a stable, predictable life. We'd been married for 6 years, and while things weren't perfect, I believed we understood each other. We laughed together, shared late-night talks, and supported one another through work stress and family obligations. But something had shifted recently, and I couldn't put my finger on it. At first, I blamed myself, thinking maybe I had grown complacent, maybe I had stopped noticing the little things that made her smile. One evening, I came home from work earlier than usual, carrying a small bag of groceries. I expected her to be in the kitchen like she always was, humming a song or moving around with casual grace. But what I found was different. Isabella stood in the living room, in a fitted workout outfit, stretching and flexing in front of a mirror. Her reflection showed a body I didn't recognize, one that seemed sharper, stronger, and somehow untouchable. I smiled nervously, thinking maybe she had started some new fitness routine. "You're home early," she said, without turning to look at me. Her voice was flat, controlled, yet carried a strange sharpness. I nodded, placing the groceries on the counter. "Yeah, just finished a bit early." I tried to make casual conversation, asking about her day, her work, anything normal. But then she turned, looked me directly in the eyes, and said the words that stopped me cold. "This body isn't yours anymore," she said, her tone almost teasing, but underneath it I could feel the distance, the defiance. "Enjoy your hand." I froze, the words echoing in my mind. I had no idea how to react. I had never felt so simultaneously shocked and dismissed. This wasn't just sarcasm or a fleeting joke. This was a declaration, a barrier, a sharp line drawn between us that hadn't existed before. I had loved her, trusted her, and in that moment, I realized she didn't want that intimacy anymore, or at least not from me. I tried to respond casually, joking even, hoping she would laugh it off. But her expression didn't soften. It wasn't playful. It was deliberate, almost clinical. She continued her stretches, deliberately slow, letting me watch her every move as if she were performing a silent challenge. My mind raced. Why now? Why like this? I had been supportive, attentive, making sure she felt loved and appreciated. And yet here she was, drawing a line I couldn't cross. I left the groceries on the counter and moved to the sofa, trying to process what she had just said. The room felt smaller somehow, tighter, suffocating. Isabella's focus on her reflection, the controlled precision of her movements, and the casual cruelty of her words were slowly sinking in. She wasn't just teasing me. She was establishing a boundary that I hadn't seen coming, one that I couldn't ignore. I remembered the earlier months of our marriage when we had been close in every sense. Physically, emotionally, mentally. I had always admired her energy, her drive, and her ambition, but I never imagined that same energy would one day be used as a wall between us. Back then, intimacy had been effortless. We connected with laughter, whispers, and touches that felt natural. Now it was like she had built an invisible fortress around herself. And worse, I wasn't sure I even knew the password to get in. "Isabella." I started, my voice calm, controlled, even though my chest was tight with frustration and confusion. "What's going on? This isn't you." She finally turned toward me, her eyes steady, unflinching. "This body isn't yours," she repeated, almost as if reminding me of the truth she had decided to claim for herself. "I'm doing this for me. You don't get to touch it. Not anymore." I felt a sharp pang of something I hadn't felt in years, rejection, humiliation, and disbelief all wrapped into one. But I knew that reacting with anger, pleading, or trying to argue would only escalate the situation. I had learned long ago that when someone is drawing lines, especially someone you love, forcing them to step back only strengthens the wall. So I stayed quiet. I let her words linger in the air like a tangible weight. I let her flex, stretch, and move in front of the mirror, watching her create space between us with every deliberate motion. And while my mind raced with questions, why, how, and for how long, I also began to realize that this was her way of asserting control. She had chosen to redirect her energy inward, to claim herself in ways I could no longer access. And that, in her mind, was her victory. I knew I had a choice. I could retreat, accept this distance silently, or I could act in a way that would remind her what she had been taking for granted. I needed a plan, a measured response. Something subtle, intelligent, and unavoidable. I couldn't yell, I couldn't beg. I had to let my actions speak, to create a shift in the dynamic without ever losing my composure. The tension between us was palpable, electric even, as she continued her routine. And as I watched, I realized that tonight, nothing would be simple anymore. Our marriage, once a shared sanctuary, was now a battlefield, and I had just been handed the first move. That night, I didn't sleep in our bed. I couldn't. The words she had said replayed in my mind over and over. This body isn't yours. Enjoy your hand. Every repetition felt like a blow. A reminder that the intimacy we had shared was no longer mine to claim. Instead, I sat in the living room, thinking, planning, and observing. Isabella, oblivious to my silent vigilance, continued to embrace her new routine with a sense of triumph. Over the next few days, the pattern became clearer. She woke early, worked out with precision, meticulously documenting every progress with photos and videos. She would share them casually on social media, flaunting the transformation that she had decided I had no part in. Every like, every comment, every digital affirmation became a stone in the wall she had built between us. And me? I stayed calm, appearing detached while quietly taking mental notes. I would not react emotionally, not yet. Then came the small shifts, almost imperceptible. A lingering look when she thought I wasn't watching. A slight hesitation before dismissing my touch. These subtle cracks in her armor were enough to tell me that my restraint was noticed. I realized then that the key wasn't confrontation, it was contrast. I didn't need to compete. I didn't need to chase. I needed to show her what she had been ignoring, through my own quiet presence and measured actions. One evening, as she finished her workout and reached for her towel, I finally spoke. My voice was calm, even playful, carrying the weight of someone who had observed, understood, and planned. You've worked hard, I said. That's impressive. She looked at me, expecting something bitter, something jealous. Instead, she found only acknowledgement. I didn't reach for her, didn't make a move. I let her realize, in her own mind, that what she had declared untouchable was still deeply desired. And sometimes desire withheld is far more potent than force applied. The change wasn't immediate. Isabella continued to push, testing the boundaries, challenging the invisible rules of our new dynamic. But slowly, subtly, the tension shifted. I wasn't pleading. I wasn't jealous. I simply existed, steady and unmoved, a silent contrast to her attempts at control. And in that quiet, invisible struggle, the true reckoning began. One where her actions, her words, and her choices revealed far more than any confrontation ever could. By the time a week had passed, the balance had shifted just enough. Isabella's eyes lingered longer, her words softened, and the challenge in her tone became less sharp. She was starting to understand that a declaration alone could not sever the bond we had built, nor erase the desire that remained beneath the surface. And I, quietly confident, knew that the first move had been mine all along.